if everything's okay. It looks like everything must be doing okay over there. Almost 1 million people are watching that live on YouTube right now. That's incredible. Anyway, wow. Are you serious? Let's get a song. Can I get a song? Yeah, let's get a song, and we'll be right back, guys. We're going to continue to prepare for this broadcast, a very important program tonight with Mike from around the world. It is a very important broadcast tonight.
Very important.
No doubt about it.
This is very important tonight.
Let's listen to some music here. Let's get a song real quick here. And we're blessed and highly favored, okay? Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Wow.
Okay, we're just waiting for Mike, man. Give it some time.
Old man Wrigley lived in that White House down the street where I grew up. Mama used to send me over with things. We struck a friendship up. I spent a long summers out on the old porch swing. Says he was in the war and in the Navy. Lost his wife, lost his baby. Broke down and asked him one time, how'd you keep from going crazy? He said, I'll see my wife and son in just a little while. I asked him what he meant. He looked at me and he smiled, said, I raised my hands, I bow my head. I'm finding more and more truth in the words written in red. They tell me that there's more to life than just what I can see. Oh, I believe. A few years later, I was off to college, talking to my mom on the phone one night, getting all caught up on all the gossip, the ins and outs of small town life. She said, oh, by the way, son, old man died. Later on that night, I laid there thinking back, thought about it from a long lost summer. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh, if there was ever anybody who served a ticket to the other side.
Sway, he's gonna come on soon.
That sweet old man looked me in the eyes and raised my hands. I bow my head. I'm finding more and more truth in the words written in red. They tell me that there's more to life than just what I can see. I can't book the book, the chapter or the verse, but you can't tell me it all ends in a slow ride in a hearse. You know I'm more and more convinced the love that I live.
We're just waiting for him to come on.
No, it can't be. No, it can't be all there is. I've raised my hands. I bow my head.
Sorry, guys. We're just waiting, and I'm not saying anything, but the singing is. I don't want to say anything, right? Because we're not here to put the people. I gotta stay out of the chat room, though.
I believe. I believe. I believe.
Sorry, guys. It's gonna be soon.
I believe. I do. I really believe, guys. I believe. Oh, I believe. Well, that's a beautiful song, I believe.
Okay, so Mike should be coming on.
Back, everybody. I am very sorry right now, for whatever reason. We are live, and I can see there's over 1,100 people here, but I have no idea why the chat is not working. Now, maybe it is working for you guys, but for me, I can't see it at all. Now, I'm going to try something different. If you guys will hang with me just a moment, I'm going to see if maybe that I can figure out how to get to the chat room through another avenue here by clicking on, and I think I might have, yeah, I did. Okay, now I see the chat room over here. So it's on and off. So somebody's saying, and now it's off. No, it's back on. So I take it it's not me, really. It's off, it's on. Missy D says it's working, so okay. All right, thank you, Missy D. I just couldn't see it, but now I can by simply going
so
to...
I'm going to just listen because Trump...
Just opening up another
Mike from around the world's coming on, and it's very important.
And there could be we're going to have a lot of people here tonight. Who knows? Well, he's got over 1,200 here tonight right now. Mike around the world's going to join us pretty shortly. There's a lot to talk about. I don't have Brock tonight, and our sound is not working at the main studio, not the way it needs to work.
Okay, so why isn't he talking about
ill.
The volcanoes?
So
I don't understand this guy, man.
Brock actually helped me record Mike Around the World's 75-minute interview for Deep State, which is unbelievable. And then we interviewed Agent X for the app. That video is on the app. And that was a 12-minute video, which is phenomenal. It's about what Mike Around the World's email. He explains it after making some calls and talking to some folks out there. Okay, someone says, it ain't you, Pastor. It's not you. The chat is going in and out. Okay, I see that. Thank you, guys. And now it's out again. So really weird what's going on with the chat room. And so there's not much I can do, but just say we're going to do the best we can. It may be because so many people are online tonight. They're watching the debate. I don't know. That could be what part of the problem is right there. Not sure. Let's break in again and see what's going on at the debate. Let's see if we can do that. I'm not sure if we can get a preview or not here, but we'll see.
Person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get that the Korean Peninsula should be a nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American families.
They tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
seconds,
They tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I gotta give him a chance to respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it. And it's okay. You know what? North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good
President
relationship
Trump,
with
we have to
leaders
move
of other
on.
countries
We have
is
a lot
a
of
good thing.
we have a lot of questions to get to.
Not
Your
Like
response.
saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he in fact invaded Europe, the rest of Europe. Come on. The reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President Obama said, we're going to talk about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you. We're going to continue to put stronger and stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
And it
let's
didn't
move
happen.
on. Let's
Excuse
move on
me.
and talk
He
about
left
American
me a
government.
mess, Kristen.
President Trump. Okay, we do
They
need to move
left
on.
me a mess. North Korea was a mess.
We
And
need
in fact,
to
if
move on
you
so that
remember
we
the
can get
first
to
2
all
or
of
3
our
months,
questions tonight.
it was a very dangerous
Okay,
period
so,
the first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
It was a very, they left us a mess. And Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, so that's just a little bit what's going on there. At least they're talking substance, and so that's encouraging, I guess. Are you serious? Okay, so trying to see if the chats work. Over 1,500 people's here. Mike Around the World is going to join us pretty soon. It's getting crazy already. We're going to stay. We'll keep popping in there a little bit, just getting a little bit here and there, giving you a little bit of a sidebar view of what's happening. Let me tell you what else is happening, though, guys. We've got some information that's there is an incredible 3 volcanoes. I repeat, 3 volcanoes have erupted in Russia. Now, this is a very dangerous situation, and they all exploded simultaneously while we had seismic swarms continuing to rattle Reykjanes Peninsula in Iceland. Volcanoes in the northern hemisphere are currently very active within the last few hours. Three volcanoes have just erupted in Russia, and they were all violently sending plumes of ash and gas and smoke and toxic fumes and plumes several thousand meters into the air in 3 separate volcanoes simultaneously. Meanwhile, a seismic swarm of earthquakes are currently rattling Reykjanes Peninsula up there in Iceland, and it could also lead to a large volcanic eruption in that area. So there's something going on, guys, big time. And just so you'll know, sending a cloud of ash 5,000 meters or 16,400 feet into the air in Russia is incredible information. But wait, there's more, because we also have an earthquake swarm taking place where? In California. And this is very disturbing what's happening in California. Let me give you the latest on this, but it's very concerning. I just seen that in Reykjanes has just now had a 5.1 earthquake on top of all these volcanoes erupting over there simultaneously in Russia. And also a 5.3 earthquake in the northern mid-Atlantic ridge. A 4.7 hit Fiji, and just now a 3.2 earthquake in Nardin, Oklahoma. But it's California we're worried about. A 2.9 Ludlow, California. 2.8 Neyland, California. 2.5 Neyland, California. 2.7, 2.7, 3.9, 2.5, all in Neyland, California, Southern California, shaking and quaking. The earth is cracking in Mexico. It's cracking between Phoenix and Tucson, Arizona. And Mike from Around the World, he's the guy. Now we just had a 2.5. Neyland, California, the swarms. Also 2.6, Ludlow, California. 5.1, South Shetland Islands. You know, it was Mike from the World that told us that Southern California was going to break off. And literally, he says that San Diego would just go like this. Are you serious? Is he serious? Also, 2.6 earthquake in Ludlow, California, 2.7. Round Valley, California. Alaska continues to shake from the quakes earlier. And also we noticed 2.9 in Wiltis, California. That's more up near around the San Francisco area, north of it there. And Alaska continues to 4.7, Ray K. James Ridge up there near Iceland. We also know that there's been a 4.6 up there as well. And the Philippines, 4.6, Northern Mid-Atlantic Ridge, 4.6. Powerful 5.8 earthquake in Tonga. And then there's a 4.5 in the Kuril Islands, just there near Russia. 4.6 Canada in Devon Island. Okay, that's way up in northern Canada. Up there where nobody is. I mean, way up there. And then there's 4.7 Japan, 4.3 Peru, 5.1 Papua New Guinea, also 3.3 Bonefish, California, 4.1 Sandpoint, Alaska, 4.9 South Shetland Islands, 4.5 Indonesia, 3.1 Perry, Oklahoma, 4.5 Indonesia, 4.0 Mexico, 5.1 China, 4.7 Ray K. James Ridge, 4.7 the Solomon Islands. This is what's going on around the world. The earth is shaking and quaking. The devil's back is breaking. The prophecies are coming to pass right before our very eyes, guys. It's getting crazy out there. I want to welcome all of you that are with me live at 1,900 of you. And Mike Around the World is going to join us very, very shortly. Sorry, a little tired tonight. So if I just a little tired, okay? Can we check back in on what's going on at the debate with President Trump and Joe Biden? Let's just listen in just for a little bit.
To American families and the economy, on one of the issues that's most important to them is
Just like he went with fracking. We're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking. We're going to stop fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania after he gets a nomination where he got very lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania and he says, oh, we're going to have fracking. And you never ask that question. And by the way, so far, I respect very much the way you're handling this. I have to say.
By the way,
but somebody should ask the question.
you can ask,
He goes for a year. There will be
we have a number of topics.
No, but that's a big question.
We're going to get to it. We're going to get to
It's the same thing with socialized
I have
medicine.
to
Vice
respond.
President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care, period. And the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care.
Talk about all kinds of different things over at the debate. And we'll check in again with those guys. But also, let me just tell you, Pat Robinson has already weighed in on this election. He has just made a prophecy. And I just did a video on this, but the U.S. election prophecy by Pat Robinson. And Robinson said God told him Trump will win the election. And then, but listen to how he says it. Now, televangelist Pat Robinson said that God told him that President Trump will win, and more than 5 years later, an asteroid will hit the earth and maybe bring the end. First of all, I want to say without question, Trump, he said, is going to win the election. Pat Robinson's the founder of the Christian Broadcasting Network. He told the 700 Club, he says, that doesn't mean you sit home and don't vote. He added that means you get out and do everything you can to work, but he's going to win. That's what I think. He said, I think it's a given. Now, he's 90 years old. He forecasted the disaster for the country and the world after the election, including civil unrest. At least 2 attempts on Trump's life will happen, he said, and war will take place against Israel. That will be put down, he said, by God. Then the world will see at least 5 years of more extraordinary peace before it is hit by an asteroid. Let's listen a little bit right now. This is Pat Robinson.
Boy, Ezekiel 38 is going to be the next thing down the line. Then a time of peace. then maybe the end. But nobody knows the day or the hour when the Lord's going to come back. He said the angels don't know it, and only the Father knows it. So I'm not saying this is the second coming, but I am saying there are things that people have thought would be during a millennial time with the coming of Jesus that are going to happen in our lifetime. And the next thing is the election that's coming up in just a few weeks, at which time, according to what I believe the Lord told me, the president is going to be reelected. I'm saying by all means, get out and vote for whoever you want to vote for, but by all means, let your voice be heard. But it's going to lead to civil unrest of a great proportion, then a war against Israel and so forth and so on.
So there you hear the prophecy given by Pat Robinson. And, he's 90 years old. He's done he's well respected by many people around the world. I think that Pat Robinson, is feeling the spiritual leaders, feeling the Holy Spirit touching him and leading him in this prophecy, and it's kind of interesting because also Mark Taylor has said that Trump will win. I've said that Trump is going to win as well. There are several, though, prominent ministries that have said that Biden will win. And then, so again, we'll see. Okay. It's not the end of the world. I feel that Trump is going to win. I'm not saying that, I could be wrong because, look, they may cheat. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? There's just no way to know how that's going to shake out. I want to welcome all 2,247 of you with us right now. Mike Around the World is going to join us very shortly now. We're going to be bringing him on. I think this is going to be a powerful broadcast. I'm very positive that when Mike was incredible. I just recorded his deep state presentation. It was unbelievable. It really was. It was unbelievable. And when we come back, get ready for Mike from around the world. Not you. No.
After this song. This is going to be important, guys. The earth will shake. I actually like this song.
The earth can shake, the sky come down, the mountains all fall to the ground. But I will fear none of those things. Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Dark waters rise, the thunder pounds, the wheels of war are going round. What? And all the walls are crumbling. Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Shelter me, Lord,
Underneath your wings.
Hide me underneath your wings. Sing it with me. Hide me deep inside your heart. In your refuge, cover me. The world can shake, but Lord, I'm making you my hiding place. Wind will blow, the rain can pour, the deluge break, the tempest roar. But in that storm, my spirit sings. Everybody sing. Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Yeah. Everybody sing Hummingbird.
I went on maybe too early. Yeah, I should have waited until Mike was
Psalm
on.
91.
24 minutes of
people saved today
waiting.
And 18 yesterday. Get ready. Sing along with me, guys. I love the shades. I love the shades. Cool shades, Colin. Hide me deep inside your heart. In your me. The world can shake, but Lord, I'm making you my hiding place. On that day, you call for me. Someday when time
No more shall be.
and
I say, death, where is your sting? Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wing.
Shelter me, Lord,
Underneath your wing. Mike next.
2,300 people here right now. Tell somebody to get over here. Mike from around the world is going to join us in a few minutes. Yeah.
That's my guy.
Hide me underneath your wings. Hide me deep inside your heart. In your refuge, cover me. The world can shake, but Lord, I'm making you my hiding place. Hit the thumbs up, everybody. Someday when time no more shall be, when I say death, where is your sting? Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Yeah! Oh, yeah! Seriously! Yeah! Okay, that's shelter me underneath your wings. We're excited tonight. We're expecting a powerful time in the Lord. Mike around the world is going to join us shortly. We're taking a look at some of the current events and how they relate to biblical prophecy. Certainly, 3 volcanoes erupting simultaneously in Russia. And while that was going on, with thousands of feet in the air, smoke and plumes and fumes and toxic gases and the ash and the sadness. And while that's going on, there was a major seismic activity taking place in Iceland and major seismic shaking and quaking in Southern California. What's going on? Let's check back in and see what's happening in at the debate.
Lower premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost money. It's going to cost. And now they cannot find over 500 sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I will
about
say
it.
this. They
10
went down. We
seconds to
brought
90
reporters,
seconds.
everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some of
They've
them
gotten
haven't been
such good-
reunited
But
with
just
their
ask
families.
one question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy,
Trump.
Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform, which had been a key promise during the administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because we made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. Took too long to get it right.
I'm not sure what kind of answer that was, but that's the kind of situation going on over there at the debate right now. Trump and Biden going at it. I want to welcome all 2,600 of you that are joining live with
They
us.
already
Mike Brown, the world's
picked
going to be with
Trump,
us very
okay?
shortly. We are
Because the sheep
anticipating
will
some
follow
great
him into the
information.
slaughter.
Tonight, Mike already rocked my world in a 75-minute interview I did with him for the Deep State. And it's unbelievable. I mean, he hit on so many things. I was looking at my notes. I never seen so many subjects covered that is unbelievable and are on the minds of every person of these end times and across America. And of course, Deep State is huge. This is an unbelievable conference, and so it's going to be amazing. Can I put a shout out right now for noblegoldinvestment.com? I haven't said anything about that. But noblegoldinvestment.com, let's put a shout out for those guys before Mike gets here. Guys, listen, we're only 11 days, just say we're almost 11 days away from the end of this election period. Thank God, maybe. It's kind of scary for some people, and after I heard what Mike from the World had to say, maybe for a lot of people. But whatever the outcome,
it's the same.
Election, it looks like the economy is going to be going through some turmoil and some up and down situation for a while. So don't be a victim. Don't be a victim. Take some action now to avoid losing your retirement savings by going to noblegoldinvestments.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestments.com.
I hate when he sells.
Let them help you protect your retirement funds with a gold IRA. You can roll that 401k you got right now into a gold IRA. And this could be a great move for you. Just pick up the phone and call Colin Plume or one of his associates at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. And if you qualify for a gold IRA, Colin will give you this beautiful gold American Eagle coin. It was minted by the U.S. Mint in 1988. It's beautiful. And there you'll see it. It's the American Eagle gold coin. It's 1/10 of an ounce. It's 1/10 of an ounce of pure gold. Okay? 1/10 of an ounce of pure gold. And he will give this to you for free if you qualify for a gold IRA, and let them set it up for you, okay? Now, Brock just told me that the value on this coin has even gone up now to $279. And with the price of gold going up, I'm sure it will go up even higher. So that's noblegoldinvestment.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestment.com. Mike from around the world is going to join us here in a few minutes. We're going to be talking about several things that are going on around the world. We haven't had Mike on for 2 weeks now, and he sent this encrypted email to me last night that I shared on a video called "The Situation in America Has Changed." You can go watch that exclusive video at my new app. Just go to, somebody put the app link up there for people. It's just go to the newapocalypseapp.com. That's newapocalypseapp.com and download the app. It will only cost you $6 a month, but by doing that, you will be tapped in. I was just talking to Bart about it, my son Bart Begley, and he said, "Dad, I just looked to see," but he said, right now, they're averaging, right now, people are reading over 10 to 11,000 articles a day since this app went into play, and they're continuing that pace. 10, 11, sometimes 12,000 articles a day are being read on the Apocalypse app. And you just get that app, and you guys know. And now videos are there. I've got 4 videos there. 4 power videos. I'm going to be talking about things because it's uncensored. They're totally uncensored because I own that server. So big deal here. You can go there and listen, and I'll share some things with you. And I did tonight. I just interviewed Agent X, and he explains what Mike from around the world meant by this cryptic email. That, and I can't say what it is. I can't say what it is here. Go to my app, listen to my video on Mike from around the world's email, and then listen to my interview with Agent X. Explain what it means. He made some phone calls and talked to some people, and it's very important you find out about this. Okay. Now, while this is going on, guys, Mike's going to join us anytime now. Almost 3,000 people have been with us already. And I do want us to check in one more time, if we could, here on the president's progress, along with Joe Biden and what's happening.
Oh, we're here to listen to my guy.
Debate.
And he keeps doing this.
So let's just go see what's going on.
I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. and you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River, and it's illegal. And you say, "Oh no, Mom, leave me here. I'm not going to go with you." They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
He had 8 years to do what he said he was going to do. And I've changed without having a specific. We got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Vice President Biden, your response.
The catch and release. You know what he's talking about there?
Okay, so it's still getting real ugly there. And doesn't sound like Joe wants to talk about the cages. And, I'm glad Trump is kind of standing up for himself on that one, because remember when that was going on? They kept trying to say it was Trump that was putting kids in cages. He didn't put any kids in cages. All the videotape that was being aired was from the Obama administration. And, well, one thing about it, when Trump finally figured it out to get Mexico involved and to secure the border, we don't have any more problems with that. And also he changed some of the policies. And the kids that are over there are being taken well care of. So it's just sad, guys. Trump did stop it. You're right. Trump should have stopped it. And he did by talking to Mexico. He said, "I'm going to put tariffs on you if you don't put your army on there." And
36 minutes of waste with this guy gabbering.
Put there, it stopped it, slowed it way down, so that the few that still get over are being taken care of very well, and that's important. Okay, I'm glad Trump stood up for himself on that. Guys, Jesus is coming soon, and the wrangling and the fighting, that's going to go on. There's nothing you and I can do about that. It's going to keep going on, and we're just going to pray for our country. Most importantly, I want to get people saved. I want people to know that Jesus Christ is coming soon, and he's coming after those that are ready. And we're praying. We're asking God to help us because of the events that are coming very soon. And I'm going to ask Mike around the world about these 3 volcanoes erupting simultaneously in Russia. How in the world can that happen?
Okay, he's
and
coming
what
on.
does that mean? Does that mean there's something else taking place? What about the pole shifts? What about the huge king tide we had along the East Coast? And what about some of the other this clusters of asteroids that just keep raging, and there's just more and more. We're catching them. Here they come. I mean, and Pat Robinson's saying we're going to get hit with one. 5 years after this election, he's prophesying in the year, I guess, to 2025. And actually, I heard Mike talk about that. I've heard Gil Brazard talk about that. We've heard other people, the little green file that the NASA scientists talked about, the clusters of asteroids coming. I mean, guys, we really have talked to a lot of people and heard a lot of reports about these very things that we're hearing now. And so I think people need to understand we're living in the end times. Mike around the world is going to join us within a minute or so. We want to welcome him. There's over 3,000 of you here tonight, and that's a great crowd considering there is a debate going on where probably 23 million people are watching on television, not counting the thousands of YouTube channels that people could be doing something else. To have 3,000 people here on a Thursday night again and is amazing, and we expect many more to join us. That king tide is still going on. Thank you, Alma. You're right. It's unbelievable, and people don't even know why it's there. It started a week ago, but remember what John Moore said? Remember what John Moore said in that, both in the first conference we did last year from Cincinnati, which was the heavens are shaking. And then John Moore really did a great job explaining it again this year in Megaquake 2020. I'm telling you, folks, and now here's the king tide, and it's bigger than anything we've seen, and we still don't have a full moon yet. The blue moon on Halloween. I'm going to be interviewed by a NPR radio out of Connecticut. I don't know the exact day, if it's tomorrow or Saturday. I can't remember, but anyway, they want to talk to me about the blue moon on Halloween, the omen that it is, and just what does this all mean, guys? Any minute, Mike from the World's going to call us any moment now. We're ready for him. Hope he's not all talked out after 75 minutes being filmed earlier tonight for the Deep State, but man, he was on fire. I mean, he was on fire. But we got to find out, what about this? There's been reports that super volcanoes are going to go. There are people very concerned about super volcanoes, that they could blow. And so I'm very concerned about all of these things right now that is happening. So as Mike from the World will be with us any moment now, we're going to get his perspective. And matter of fact, speaking of Mike, here he is. Mike from around the world. How are you tonight, Mike?
Pastor Paul Begley, we're back.
We're back. That's right. We're back. Well, you were on fire earlier tonight as we were doing about a 75-minute interview with you on Deep State. You were on fire.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the believers not falling into traps.
Can you want? Okay. Do you want? Can we talk about that a little bit right here?
Possibly some.
Okay, just a little bit. You're worried about believers falling into traps. Obviously, debate is going on right now. People are really getting too over anxious, and they need to relax a little bit and put a little more faith in God, don't you think?
Yeah, they do. They really do. Yeah, because if they don't, they're going to be drawn right into what has been planned.
Exactly. And we can't go into much of that, folks, much more other than just go check out my app and find out what the email Mike sent to me over there, and also watch the video of Agent X giving his explanation of kind of what he thinks Mike's cryptic message was there. It seemed to be he was pretty on the money. Mike does a great job explaining what's really going to be happening in the next week or so. So don't miss it this coming Friday night. Next Friday night, October 30th and 31st, Deep State will air. Don't miss Mike from the World's message on there on Deep State. Mike, we had 3 volcanoes erupted in Russia simultaneously, and then a seismic event, a lot of heavy quakes up in Iceland. Are these two connected? And what is going on? How do 3 volcanoes erupt simultaneously?
Well, they are likely in the same region of magma pressure, the pressure bulbs inside the Earth, or the domes inside the Earth. So this pressure is trying to find a place to release. It's the pressure's building much more than it was at the beginning of the year. It is insane how much pressure is being built. And again, we don't have enough eruptions to relieve this pressure. It's like a pressure cooker, right? And we all know what happens if you totally seal the top of a pressure cooker and it keeps boiling inside. Poof, it's eventually going to blow. Not only that, we had 2 pulses that were inbound from space, and we have a few more on the way. In fact, it's almost like a storm of inbound pulses coming in. And every time, because there were a couple last week, there was one small one, and each time they correspond to events in the Earth, and we have a few more on the way.
Are these the waves of energy, Mike?
Yeah. Every time we have a pulse coming in, those are bands of radiation that have an effect on the Earth. And again, it's like overcharging a lithium battery. We're talking about chemical reactions, increased heat within the Earth, and it's continuing. I'm still looking at the land masses in the southern hemisphere. Every time we have something that goes off in the southern hemisphere, we're going to have the reverberations are going to go around the Earth, and based upon whatever land masses are giving way the fastest, because what you're seeing now are indicators. Russia is an indication, a very bad place, because I'm concerned about Italy and the way the plates are pressed together. If you can get if I'll probably have to display that, but pressure readings of the plates give a good indication of what's pressing against what's more likely to give. So we're in for a ride. We really are in for a ride. Not to mention the winter. Winter is settling in, and do you not know that this winter could be just a deadly winter?
Okay, when you say that, a deadly winter, why? Are you saying massive snow, brutal cold, or extreme weather conditions? What do you mean?
We've got, outside the atmosphere, we have an increased bands of radiation inbound. The Earth is soaking up this radiation. That's where it goes. It's following the magnetic field lines force down into the inside of the Earth. As the Earth heats up from the inside, it's evaporating more and more moisture, right? Which is being caught in the atmosphere. Now, due to higher densities being observed in the atmosphere, its retainability of moisture. And remember in 2015, I was talking about how the atmosphere is going to retain much more moisture in the future than anybody has ever seen. Now they're discussing this on the Weather Channel. Now they're discussing this. The meteorologists are taken back by this. But its ability to retain twice as much moisture as usual is going to mean extreme pressure differences. Those pressure differences are going to translate into extremes between hot and cold that are just they're going to start tearing up the infrastructure itself. But snowstorms that we used to have, which were somewhat moderate, even if it dropped 10 feet, right? That would be moderate in the mountains. But think of a snowstorm that drops, that much snow, turns around, it melts off the next day, right? Or starts to melt off, creates an ice sheet, and then snows again that same way, or possibly in the same day. But snowstorms with wind at about 60 to 70 miles an hour. These are blizzard conditions with lots of cold. You're talking about power outages all over the place. That's one of the problems with when you forecast winter storms, the wind that can always cause power outages. Well, the winter time is not a good time for power outages.
No.
Now, as mentioned, we're having a geological problem in the Earth, and the geological issues are going to continue to increase as the days go forward. I hate to tell people those the super volcanoes. The biggest problem that we have right now, I'm telling you now, that this Earth we're going to deal with ash. We're going to deal with a atmosphere that is with glass shards all over the place from the volcanoes. With they call them spider webs all over the place, and these indicators are just these are premature warnings.
Glass shards? Glass shards?
Oh yeah, they did. In Iceland, they went back, and when that volcano actually erupted last time, they reported it looked like thread, big thick pieces of thread from one object to another, but it was glass coming from the volcano, which was laden with sand materials. That's just sand, melted at hot temperatures, but it settled and it looked like spider webs, glass shards all over the place. By the way, when you inhale ash, the ash, when it goes inside of your lungs, it will start to mutate your bones. Is what it will do. Not only will it choke you, but it mutates your bones, and that causes a very bad issue. But yeah, we're going to be dealing with that, and Italy is still a very big problem, and there are more and more signs that this thing could, and because it's so populated. In the USA, we have issues too. We have more fault lines in the USA than once thought of, and we have more fault lines forming every single day. They're getting longer. More and more defined cracks are happening in the Earth. We're going to have an Atlantic issue here shortly, and let's just hope Tamaulipas doesn't go off. I know that people look at Yellowstone, but their biggest nightmare is going to be Italy or Tamaulipas in the Pacific. So we hope they don't.
Yeah, you've mentioned this a lot, Mike, that Italy, you have said repeatedly, and you've been pretty consistent with that Italy is your biggest concern, more of a concern even than Cascadia subduction zone, or even San Andrea or New Madrid. That really you're thinking that this is going to go first, and that this will be major. Do you also see volcanoes going off like Mount Vesuvius and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, if they have, if there is a if that, let's call that a super caldera, if that thing starts to go, it's going to light up all the volcanoes in that proximity. You're looking at a displacement of humanity we've never seen before. Not to mention, it just so happens to be positioned in a place. It would cause at least a 500-mile high wall of water. It'll come straight towards the East Coast. It comes straight towards Brazil. It will crack portions of Africa. So it's positioned in a place that can really cause some severe problems. And if anything happens to Greenland, we're going to lose our water barrier. Greenland acts as not only a current, but a water barrier. If Greenland is disturbed, and Greenland is a very fragile landmass, if it is disturbed, we're going to have issues. And Iceland is the indicator of Greenland's disturbance. That landmass is so incredibly strange that, but again, it protects, it actually protects. It's like a big filtration system up there. And if that goes, we can forget quite a few things. Starvation is going to settle in. And after all this moisture that we're having another phenomena in the atmosphere. There are certain types of radiation. One specific type destroys vegetation, and that type is beginning to build, which they found out that's what's causing the gamma ray increase inside of the Earth. The Earth itself is starting to release more and more gamma rays from within the Earth. All right, not outside, inside the Earth. So the Earth now is starting to emit exotic radiation. We're going to have more of that also. So we're going to have a vegetation issue, which naturally is going to affect the animals, which is going to cause, further loss of the crops that we have. But they had this in their forecast, in their eyesights in 2005. It's been on track since 2005, and now we're in 2020. And they're making adjustments to the meat, to the store products and everything else connected with food, because they know what's coming, and they're trying to change people's minds slowly but surely through media, television, so on and so forth, to give hints every so often that people should get, dried foods. That you see noodles, you see Spam. That's what you see all the time. Yeah. And
well, Mike, okay, when you're saying they know what's coming, obviously the Earth is under severe pressure from these 5 waves of energy, which is apparently being caused by a binary system. I keep calling it Planet X or Nibiru or Planet Number 9, whatever they want to call it. But you've acknowledged that there's certainly a large body out there on the edges of our solar system, which the gravitational pull is affecting.
Okay, it's not on the
system.
Edge. You've been saying that for 5 years.
The Earth, and I've heard you say this before. And when the core of the Earth is being heated, that's raising the magma, and that's causing a lot of volcanic and tectonic plates are shifting. And there's some ripple effect from this is quite extraordinary. Now, when you start talking about food, I was at a Mensen convention with Heidi, because she's a Mensen, and I heard them 6 years ago. They said, we got too many people on the planet. We can't feed them all. We need about 2 billion less people. So what we need to do, they said, is start eating grub worms and quit eating cows. And then AOC come along with the Green New Deal. So is this all part of it? They're anticipating so much catastrophic events, extreme weathers, that there won't be enough food supply. And we're already hearing that now, that famine is coming for the winter in many countries. What are they concerned about here?
Yeah, it's already kicked off. As we've been going through this cycle, our rate of recession has also been increasing. Many are now believing this, but as we're moving closer to the binary star. So they're observing all these changes. The heavens that seem to coordinate with the changes on Earth and, by the way, on Mars and on Venus, because we not only have these temperature swings here on Earth, but Mars is changing drastically. I mean, drastically. And of course, it's an early indicator of what happens to the Earth. So this phenomenon is a solar system-wide change, but it's becoming violent because Mars is having more and more incursions to its surface. Some of the outer planets being hit by some very large pieces of debris that are inbound. It's only a matter of a couple of months before all that starts smacking us.
What?
And they're watching the orbit of Jupiter very closely. Jupiter, of course, is a gatekeeper for the inner planets. If something changes with Jupiter normally draws everything into itself. So it is a gatekeeper. It's called a gatekeeper. But if something happens to Jupiter, right, there's nothing to keep these larger objects from having that straight trajectory inside, straight to us, which they kind of forecast that will happen because Jupiter goes through a very strange phenomenon, given certain pulls at certain times in these long durational cycles. So we'll likely have a hiccup in the gatekeeper as rocks are hurled inbound. Now we also have belts of rock all around us, right? We have it could be seen as protection. But if something hits that belt, one side is sheared off, by the way. If something hits those rocks again, they're gonna, it's gonna be like a pool table. They're gonna knock them all inbound.
What do you mean one side is sheared off?
Well, in that rock layer, it's a big chunk of it is gone. It's just gone. It's like a perfect cut. It is gone. Something passed through it, knocked it out. It's gone. So there's a big gap in that belt. It's gone. Now,
Are you talking the Kuiper belt?
Yep. It's got a sheared off portion to it. It is just missing.
Wow.
It's missing. It's a huge gap in it. It's missing. So there have been some violent events external our orbit, and those violent events are just creeping ever so closely inbound. We've been protected for a long time, but there are certain cycles where heavier influences travel in not in a lateral position like most things do, but somewhat of a vertical position right through our solar system. And we're starting to experience these, which are of a different nature than what we have experienced. But in the scheme of things, we've been alive in the scale of the changes in the Earth and geology. We've been alive for about 2 seconds. And it's very difficult for us to observe, for anybody to observe, what's been happening for the last week, right, in the Earth. And what I mean by that is, we haven't been alive long enough to observe some of the changes we need to definitively say that certain weather patterns are going to form, and this will happen and that will happen. So as we continue, we learn more and more, and we can relate that to events back in the past. So it tells us, it scares the elitists. Actually, it scares everybody because they understand that they can't escape it, and there's a few events coming that no one's going to get out of.
And when you say that, Mike, folks, this is Mike around the world with us tonight. We're so glad he's with us from over at Council of Time. And I just interviewed him earlier tonight for 75 minutes on Deep State Uncovered. His portion, his presentation on Deep State. It is incredible, and you don't want to miss it. You want to get that ticket for the webinar. It starts next Friday, October the 30th at 6 p.m. And, of course, also on Halloween the 31st. A blue moon. Mike, we've had asteroids now scraping by us the last few days. Yeah, yesterday we had 2 of them. One was an 0.9, one was an 0.1 lunar distance. Now, 3 weeks ago, we didn't know those 2 asteroids existed, or at least they didn't tell us about it till the last couple of days. We see clusters coming. I mean, there's no way around it. Is this the beginning of this sorrow? Is this part of what's coming? Is it going to get way worse?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, to get worse. But we'll work up to the point where we will see meteor storms on a frequent basis, which means more fires. Now, all of us have had an example of what happens with fires from California California to Colorado,
Right.
Texas. Now, just imagine those fires being, increased by debris from the heavens. By the way, we have a lot of satellites up there, right?
Yes.
We know that word-wise in the word, the horses are going to be stricken with blindness.
Yes, it
Right.
says. Ooh.
So the horses are that's how people travel around. We're not going to use horses in combat. We'll have vehicles, but if all these vehicles have GPS capabilities, and if they're hit, you can lose your position just about everywhere now because they trust technology that way. So if I would, right now I'm looking at that scripture, I would say something's going to happen with our satellites, and we won't have positional guidance. By the way, we're in a bad position with that. War-wise, that will happen war-wise. We have a lot of countries right now are in a mad dash to unify before something breaks out. There's a hint of a breakout of types, I guess you could say. And the world's in a mad dash to get together. Prior to this breakout, they also know some of the troubles that are coming. Russia used to be forthcoming, but they due to the political climate and everything else, the news is dominated by drama, and
Right.
so they like to cover that. But we are in a position. The U.S. is in a very strange position. Other countries are in a very strange position, and what you see is a unification of countries right now on many fronts. First, it was the scientists. They are working together with the CERN, and not only CERN, but one of the stations in space that does some of the management of CERN. They're working in that area too to ensure they can survive. They've been having emergencies on the ISS, by the way.
Yes. Yep.
All sorts of things are taking place,
Well, let's
and they
ask
are
Rick-
increasing. The point is they're increasing.
Can we ask about CERN, because I interviewed Steve Quayle yesterday for the Deep State, okay? And he talks about a lot of things about the Deep State and what they're doing, but one of the things he brought up, and I wanted to ask you about it, and folks, that's why you don't want to miss the Deep State webinar. But Steve Quayle brought up the fact that starting tonight until the end of Halloween, CERN was going to be running at the highest levels of speed ever. Mike, do you have any idea about what that's about and what they're trying to do?
What you know what it's sometimes things are so obvious. It's just so hard to catch on to. I'll say something about nuclear weapons. You ready?
Yes.
Do you believe a nuclear weapon can go off at any time?
I didn't know.
If somebody
No.
pushed a button on a nuclear weapon, can it go off at any time?
No.
Isn't it supposed to go off when they pushed a button?
Yeah, it should go off when it's detonated. Yes.
It had to be in coordination
Right.
with the sun.
Oh,
Did you know that?
no, I did not know that.
Okay. So with CERN on these CERN has found out quite a few things. Now you have to understand something. When you're dealing with an international facility like that, and you see the divas sitting outside of CERN, Shiva, so forth,
Yes,
the destroyer is what it is.
Yes.
When you see that thing, they are already tuned in to the fact that during high spiritual states of humanity, right, whether the moon influences humanity, whatever the case is, there are different power potentials you can tap into through the high states of a spiritual sense of man. Plus, they do what they do by a calendar. These guys, just like the Apollo missions, just like the missions before Apollo, when they were testing craft in the atmosphere, they pay homage to things people don't believe in. They pay respects to deities people don't believe in. They write incantations on the vehicles for rite of passage. CERN is no different, because they're not only operating in this plane of existence, but to operate in a quantum field or in a quantum area. You know that that quantum area is in a different dimension, so to speak. It's let's call that a micro universe, so to speak. You also know that they have already drawn energy out. They've gone beyond 0 point energy.
Oh, now wait a minute. That's Tesla energy. That's 0 point energy.
Yeah, they've gone beyond that. But here's what I mean. It's almost like if they have utilized for every volt of electricity that they have utilized to peer into another dimension, they have pulled out about 50,000-60,000 volts from a very tiny microscopic. We're talking about a little tiny teeny quantum door, right, where you can draw and extract energy from, right? Okay. A tiny door, a door that you can't see with your eyes, so tiny, but you can draw out enough energy to replace all the nuclear power plants in the world if you wanted to, right? So they're perfecting a method of doing this, but they know it comes with a consequence, because to extract energy on such a small level causes a reaction, because of they have found out that, for example, particles are matched. Every particle has a twin, and if you mess with the twin in this realm, it does something to the twin in the other realm. No matter the distance, there's no such distance in the quantum world. There's no such thing as distance. Everything is connected, and one thing affects another. They know this because they manipulated some elements on one side of the Earth, only to find out that the elements on the opposite side of the Earth position themselves to match the first elements. And they did this in space also, right, with tiny little minute particles. But in the quantum world, it's very dangerous, because all that power held within an atom, all that power held within a quark, and they go in and tap inside these things and come to find out the larger forces are found in these small areas.
Mike, we just had a 6.0 earthquake just hit Chile just a moment ago. So go ahead.
That's not a good place. South America is not a good place for earthquakes.
No,
I'll say it again. South America, if we, Pastor Paul, I'm telling you right now, if that, I can't shake what I've seen in South America, specifically, that whole place in South America is about being engulfed. But when it starts shaking apart, California is going to follow, period.
Yeah, and look at California right now, folks. Today, a cluster of earthquakes in Southern California in the last few hours, especially in Neyland, California, have really been shaken. And Mike, just a second ago, now Northern Mid-Atlantic Ridge has just been hit with a 5.0 earthquake. Now that's out there in the Atlantic Ocean on that ridge. Yeah, so that just happened right after the 6.0 hit Chile. Go ahead.
What is something following our conversations?
Well, I'm starting to wonder. I mean, are you speaking this into existence, or what's going on here? Because this is really weird.
Oh boy, I hope not. But I tell you, with what's going on, my hope is that people wake up and they can be aware of this, because Pastor Paul, I can't discount the dreams I've had. And you know what? One of the problems with the dreams I saw in California is I heard the people screaming. That means they did not leave. And I'll say it again, in California, it seemed like in that dream that people were relieved, because it seemed like a cluster of earthquakes. I heard somebody say, okay, that must be it. It must be over. It was nothing. Right after that whole landmass went up in the air. So,
whoa! I mean, you keep talking about this San Diego going up like 45 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
The earth, I mean, millions of people just being dumped into the ocean.
Can you imagine having a dream like that? You're sitting there watching, but you can hear the screams and smell the air.
No.
Right? You can smell the sulfur in the air. And in fact, people began to smell sulfur in Southern California. They began to smell sulfur first. And there was another smell associated with it. They began to smell this. Then the birds left. Then there was some sort of a meeting at the border. Somebody was giving a speech down there. Really wasn't paying attention, but I could see volcanoes going off in Mexico and down in South America is where I understand the heart of it to be. Only to look back and then you see, I'm sitting there watching people do these walking in the streets, much like today, protests, kids and marching in groups and this and the other, doing silly dances and coordinated things in the street anyway. But I heard a conversation of people saying, oh, this must be the worst of, and they said the time is over, as though somebody made a prophecy. And the day passed with nothing happened. And then the people began to relax. But it was right after they said, okay, that must be it. The event is over. Because certain people had left, but a great many stayed. Right after that time, Pastor Paul, it began to shake. And I saw those little tiny cars. The little tiny cars, they were going, they were on the highway, and they were being shuffled. The highway went sideways. So it looked like nobody survived that was on the highway. I understand that to be I-5, I believe it was.
Yeah, it's I-5.
But nobody was safe. There were upthrusts happening. The noise, the cracking noise was almost impossible to get out of your ears, but the screams. Who in the world can forget screams if you were to ever hear it? And then after the landmass went, I couldn't believe the landmass went up in the air like it did. Right? It was incredibly, you just felt hopeless due to the scale of what was happening. And people were there, and some of the buildings, they never fell. They were built so well that I guess they stayed intact, going sideways. Some of them did, but when that broke away, and then when I backed off, I saw the Grand Canyon slam shut together.
What?
That's all. And then, so it was not only California was the beginning, and it must have been all over the place, because it was that was the entrance into a very new time, a time of desperation and everything else. But it all began with South America and Mexico having eruptions and volcanoes going off. Right? So many volcanoes were going off in South America, and the crack in Mexico was very significant.
Right.
Very significant.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just throw this out there. Pat Robinson, a televangelist, 700 Club. Pat Robinson, he's 90 years old, but he just made a prophecy 2 days ago. He said God showed him that Trump was going to win the election, but that there was going to be days of unrest and turmoil, but then it would settle down, and there'd be about 5 years of really unusual the earth, all within the next 5 years. He's saying between now and the year 2025, the asteroid he's seen hitting the earth. Now he's 90 years old, but should we pay attention to what he is saying? Is there something there?
With the asteroids? Oh yeah, absolutely. About what he saw concerning peace and everything. I'm not sure the timing that he was shown. I don't dispute what God shows anybody.
Right.
I personally am not sure the timing. I can only give you what.
What about the post-election?
Stayed on me. Well, that trouble, when he's talking about trouble that we may experience for a duration of time, Pastor Paul, do you not know the results of the election can be delayed for up to 11 to 12 months? That's a year. Do you know that could be a year of unrest? That could be a year of unrest.
It would be if this isn't settled. Does the president stay in office? Does Trump stay in office if it's not settled?
He'd have to. We can't have an absence of a president during a count or dispute of a count. So what would happen is, but we all know how people would respond, right? We all know that people are at their boiling point. We know they're ready to blow, because people are becoming violent toward their children. And each and every time when you start looking at the span of humanity with their families, that means they have reached their psychological breaking point. Well, the elections, with the momentum of what's happening in the streets, is going to set this over the bar. And because it's going to set it over the bar, there is a contingency already in place to handle some of the fallout from this. A lot of people suspect this will be like, folks. First of all, can I just say this? First of all, I believe that God is in control all the time. This is what I believe. This is not just a statement. I believe it.
Yes.
And because I believe that, people ought to remember two terms, Trump and Pence. They don't forget that term. That has never happened in history. You don't get a trumpet, right, in the White House just like that.
No.
That is very significant. It's something that I can't let go. I don't think any other Christian should let that go. And it appears to be, look at all the turmoil that's behind this administration. Sometimes I forget about the odds with men, and I begin to look at the spiritual connotations of what's been happening. When Mike Pence and Trumpet went into the White House, instant shaking, right? Now, first of all, they said it would never be, just like they do with prophecy.
Right.
Oh, they'll never get in the White House. Trump will never be president. He's president, right?
Yeah.
President.
Yes, he is.
And then Mike Pence, he basically was going to hang up his career. He said, well, I'm kind of out of this stuff, and then poof, he's right back into it again. He didn't. So these guys, they get into office, and everything starts happening. I mean, everything.
Yeah, you're right.
What's been happening is a first-time deal for just about everything. The status quo is shaking up. Everything is shaking up. Things are unsure. Nothing is happening by schedule, right? Everything is it seems like that was out of bounds is now in play. And what you have a lot of Christians right now, they have been getting tired. I know you've been getting tired.
Oh, yeah.
But don't stand up. This is when we have to get on our feet, because it seems like something purposely is trying to put us to sleep. We've been getting message after message after message in geology. The earth is crying out right now. Wake up, children. Something's wrong with
It's a
everyone. It's like a shout.
It's like a birthing pains, Mike. The
Yes,
earth
it
is
is.
screaming out. It's like it's in travail. There's no stopping it. What about this king tide, Mike, that's happened along the East Coast? I mean, it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. And do you know? Well, I think the people from COT know this. I'm going to say it one more time. Here it is. I'm going to just say it. In Russia, from Russia, the water will come up. The bugs, the flying insects, will be shown flying in one direction. Right after the flying insects, they start taking flight, and we just had all the locusts going all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Right after the flying insects, people are going to wake up in the middle of the night without sound or anything, and they're going to see water for as far as the eye can see, with no noise, with no rain, with no anything. The water level is going to come right up. I said this a while ago in COT, and ever since that time, things have been happening, and the king tide is one thing, but it's an indication of a worse issue, of a problem that nobody can get themselves out of. And here we go again. These are first-time events in our lifetime, and here we have what in the White House? A trumpet. Trumpets. If we just can't erase that. Nobody can take that away.
The Bible says, when the last trump of God shall sound, and time shall be no more. I mean, what are we going to do with that?
Is he spelling something out? This is the time of the trumpets. Maybe that's what he's saying, because we have too many foreshadowings, too many harbingers, and too many things are happening.
Okay, so he's buffering. He's having problems because Mike's telling the truth. Now, this is what I tell. And people say, I don't want to tell anybody what's coming. I just want to preach kumbaya by the fire. This is the problem, man. I'm yelling it from the rooftop while they're sitting there playing.
The screen has just turned black. Give me 1 second. Let's see if we're still on. Yeah.
They say they lost the feed.
Yeah, I think it's back. I think it just come back. But we just lost 1,000 people, and that's really sad. We had over 52.
I'm sure they'll come back.
Yeah, they'll come back. It comes back. The feed's coming back. They'll be back. So, Mike, I guess we got to ask this question. I know we're running out of time. We've covered a lot of stuff going on in space, in the Earth, what's happening. And some people have asked me, should we ask Mike? They've sent me emails. Can you ask Mike one more time? Is he got any update for us on the coffin dream you had? Has there been any change or anything else you can share?
I'm watching. Pastor, I disturbing, but I'm watching ever so closely. That time is that's one of those dreams where I can't look away. I'm watching very closely. I know the elements involved, and I'll say it again. I've never had a dream like that before. Not ever have I ever seen somebody's face in a casket. And normally, when I have dreams, I never dream foolish stuff, right? That they're always either meaningful or life-changing. But this one was very odd, very strange. And so I'm watching because some of the feelings surrounding it seem to be taking shape. That, you know, how you feel in a dream, sometimes you can get a notion of that in real life, and it seems to be taking shape. So I'm watching closely. Has that time passed? Could it not happen? I don't think the time has passed. I think that because of what I saw, this could really happen at any moment. And, you know, when certain events took place a week ago, I was like, oh, no. Right? So, but I don't know. I do know this, though. I do know that people are violent. We're about to enter into a very violent time for people who are extremists for the elections. We have groups out there that are over, I believe the last count was 3,600, 3,700 groups out there that they have been watching for chatter. They have weapons. They are armed. They are mobile. They're traveling. People are being threatened.
They're
people
on
are being called up.
And they're on both sides of the political spectrum.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. So we're talking about people who will not hesitate. If they're pushed over the edge, it's going to be a battle. And because of the media, right? And, you know, the media, I hate to say this, but they have implants also. They have people who are ex-CIA who are now news anchors. How does that work out? I don't know. But because I know two of them, and I know what they were. But, you know, how does that work out? These are plants. Anyway, you have the news that guides the interests of the people. So if they want a situation to be amplified, all they have to do is have a story on it. They have the ear of the people. So if they start speaking, they will guide people's thoughts towards certain subjects, right? They'll make people angry or make people happy. In this case, they're disturbing people. When they're talking about when the president said that a lot of fraudulent activity could happen with these elections,
right?
And then that's one statement. But when you come back and you say, well, they're armed people who are, you know, they say they're going to enforce. That's not a news anchor and somebody who reports the news, that is to keep things in balance among those with power. That is not to incite idealistic ways in people, so they go out there. Some people are loony, and they know this. Some of these kids are detached, and they will act out everything they hear. They'll turn that news story into a reality, which is what's happening. You have a lot of children who they are video game folks. They're kind of detached from the real world. They don't have good people skills or anything else. And these are the individuals who will go out and start doing things like Combine High and all these different places. They'll actually take matters into their own hands and really feel that they have to do it. And they know this, that there's some unstable folks out there, right?
Yeah.
They're reaching these people because they're going to watch television no matter what anybody says. They're going to grow up. They're going to teach others to do the same. Plus, these groups that are isolated, they feel like their government has turned their back on them. And some of them feel that if they don't do anything, they're not going to have a government. So you're looking at ideologies on a spectrum, a host of different types of people that are now active and they're ready
Mike,
to go.
When you talk about the media inciting violence or inciting, look, I've seen the media go out on the street, nothing's going on, and they will bring cameramen and everybody out there, and they will start to talk about the crowds are starting to gather, and you will see soon there'll be 100, soon there'll be 200, soon there's 500, soon there's 1,000, and soon there's police riot gear, and next thing you know, they're throwing cocktails of flames, and this was, if they just would have not went out there and said anything, there was probably going to be very little. It looks as if they're the ones that are fueling and fanning the flames that has brought so much division, and not only among the people, but don't you think in Washington, the swamp itself, they fan the flames of the politicians all the time.
They do, and they like I said, they have the pulse of the people. They can actually they speak for the situation, so they can take out, if a cat fell asleep and fell off a chair, they can turn that into headline news and have everybody in the world tune into that story and do an hour special on a cat falling off a chair, make it a big deal. They can turn nothing into something. They really can do this. They're good at their job. They know they're good at their job. They have an agenda. Now listen, these people, some people say, oh, well, they're just doing their job. No, they're paid a lot of money.
Right.
Okay, they're paid money, and they're going to do whatever they're paid to do. They're not going to jeopardize their paycheck because they have an expensive lifestyle, and we have to remember that these guys are paid a lot of money to do what they do.
Yeah.
And so they're going to get up there. Whoever writes their paycheck, they're going to pass their agenda. They're not going to tell their bosses, no, I'm not telling that story.
No.
Right? They're going to wake up in the morning. Their boss is going to tell them what they're going to report on, what they're happy about, and what they're angry about. That's what they're going to receive. They're going to get that report, that briefing that morning, and they're going to adjust themselves accordingly.
It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny, Mike. But to be quite honest with you, you're exactly right. The media talking heads that are paid a lot of money come into work, and there's a staff who is, and the producers who have already been in contact with the political parties who are actually driving the agenda, and they're putting together their program for them. These guys are actors. They come in and say, what's the agenda? What's the deal? And they show them what they're going to talk about. They put it on the screen. It's all pretty. They got teleprompters, and they're ready to roll. These guys are actors. It's quite different than what I do, or what you do, or others do. I know every day when I come in and get together with Brock and Bart and some of the other Agent 2020 and some of the other researchers, Ted and some of them, we scour the world to see what all is going on and what is relevant that should be talked about. And then we have to worry about what the censorship police are going to do to us. And so we have to tippy-toe our way around. I hate that. And just to bring a program forward, it's not about shaping an agenda. It's about reporting what the scriptures already said is going to happen in prophecy, and then say, guess what? It's happening. And Mike, you do that all the time. And at the same time, you do have a unique position where you do have some inside information that you are bringing forward, and we appreciate it greatly because that helps us understand where we're at. We're still flying blind out here a lot of times. And a little bit of insight helps a lot. People need to be ready, don't they?
Absolutely. You know what, Pastor? I was challenged one time when I was young to do an exercise. Somebody told me, they said, turn the volume down on any news station and then watch it and see what you see. I did that one time, and I tell you, they look like clowns. Because they smile on cue. They have the weirdest looks on their faces. What they do is at a director's, whatever they're doing back there. So you can tell it's not authentic.
No. They don't believe. They don't believe what they're even saying. Half the time, they don't even believe what they're saying.
Do you know what? I challenge anybody. Go look at the background of these people. The majority of them have been in the military.
Yep.
They have been in the military.
CIA.
We're not talking about just enlisted. We're talking about military officers, right? Yep. They have been in operations that nobody ever knew about. And then they go on the news. We're talking about operatives. These are high-scale operatives that do the news. That makes no sense.
No sense.
Right? No sense. You don't get that would be like James Bond coming on CNN if that were a true character, right? Or a bunch of MI5 guys doing Fox. That doesn't make sense. But if you look on these news organizations, that's precisely what you're going to see. You're going to find out that these guys have military backgrounds, and they're very so anybody with a military background is disciplined. That means if somebody says smile, they'll smile.
Yes.
If somebody says be happy about a story, they'll be happy about it. If somebody says be angry about it, they're going to be angry about it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But the Lord gave us discernment.
Yes.
He doesn't want our day to be guided by what we hear on the news. He wants our day to be guided by the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
By the way, it does not make a mistake. It does not lie. It's not sneaky. It doesn't do all this stuff. Right? It is a very, it's the place we want to be in. And by the way, Pastor Paul, the closer we get to the days where things are really tough, where things are really dark, the Spirit increases in all of us. And one of the some of the overtones that are spoken of in the Word of God is that promise right there. That as things get rough, as Satan builds in his power, so will the power be distributed to the people in greater proportion, because God will keep all things balanced. He'll always be under our feet. We'll always have the ability to overpower him. It wasn't that Jesus that said, we'll be able to tread upon scorpions and serpents, right? We'll have all power over the enemy.
Yeah.
He didn't say some, he said all, and nothing will by any means hurt you. See, that's if we walk in him that way. I don't know about anybody else, but I've got a taste of the world without certain protections. That's not a place you want to be. And I also have a taste of the world with the security of the blood of the Lamb.
Amen.
And I'm telling you, I am never nervous, nor am I afraid. I do labor for other folks. Me, myself, I have nothing to fear. I have nothing to fear.
Praise
There's
God.
nothing better to be in the embrace of Christ, to know that blood is real.
Amen.
There's nothing better than
Amen.
that.
That's what we live. That's the faith we have. We're covered by the blood. We walk. We do not have the spirit of fear, but of love and power and a sound mind. We are not going to surrender to the spirit of darkness, but we're going to press on to the prize of the high calling of God. Mike, we're out of time. We got to get you in here next Thursday, though. Just before.
I'll be here.
All right, next Thursday you'll be here just before Deep State. Oh my, it's going to be interesting. I'll see you then, Lord willing.
God bless you, Pastor Paul.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Bye, guys.
Folks,
That was long.
interview with Mike around the world. 5,103 of you are
God
here,
bless.
but are you saved?